Breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ. Lions head coach Matt Patricia and GM Bob Quinn are out in Detroit. The Lions have fired both of them after the Lions' 41-25 loss on Thanksgiving to Houston. Lions 4-7 thus far this season. Matt Patricia in his third season with Detroit, 13-29-1. Clearly not getting it done this season, allowing the third most points per game, nearly 30 per game, as the Lions fire head coach Matt Patricia and GM Bob Quinn. Let's get some instant analysis. Welcome in two-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden. And B-Mac, we can't sit here and say we're surprised that the Lions have parted ways with Matt Patricia, but your initial reaction is what?
Not surprised. Not surprised. If you look at what they've been able to do or the lack thereof, when you talk about being competitive and being consistent, they have missed that expectation week in and week out. I mean, what we saw this past Thanksgiving Day on a national stage was a total letdown. I mean, Deshaun Watson had his way against his defense. Oh, by the way, Matt Patricia was a defensive-minded coach. Remember, he was a DC at New England. And because of his success there, on the defensive side, he was able to get the head coaching opportunity in Detroit. But the defense has been bad. They've been bad for a few years since he's been there. And I think when you look at that, was supposed to be his strong point, and they have continued to drop the ball. When you look at the expectations, I'm not surprised. In the division where everything is pretty much wide open, outside of the Green Bay Packers, the division is wide open. The NFC North, that is, and they're at the bottom of the barrel in that division. So that tells you a lot about what they have not been able to do. And because of that, I'm not surprised to hear the news today.
Why don't you think it worked out for Matt Patricia in Detroit?
I think just being able to develop guys, right? Develop guys, being able to acquire the right guys, not just through free agency, but through the draft, and just being able to be consistent. Yes, every team has issues. Every team goes through injury woes, things like that. But they have not been able to develop the guys that they brought into the building, and they have not been able to be consistent. You look at all the other teams in that division, right, over the last few years, they all have been relevant at some point in time. The Chicago Bears, the Minnesota Vikings, and we know Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. But the only team that has always missed the opportunity to be relevant and consistent has been the Detroit Lions. And since he's been there, that has been put on blast week in and week out. And I think that has been something that people have, you know, the Patriots have ran short with the fan base there in the organization, not being able to be consistent. And when the window has been open for you, they haven't been able to reach that level of consistency that many believe they should be able to. So the expectations clearly they weren't reached, and I think they really made a premature decision in firing Jim Caldwell when they fired him. I mean, 4 years there in Detroit, he made it to the playoffs twice, and I guess people got used to seeing 9 wins or tired of 9 wins, but right now you would take 9 wins and the potential opportunity to get in the playoffs based on what they're going through currently.
What's next for the Lions? Who are some guys they should be targeting in terms of trying to fill this head coaching position? Because this is something they have got to get right, considering what you just said about having Jim Caldwell, the fact that he was successful there, just not successful enough for them.
Well, you got to look at what they have. The best player they have is Matthew Stafford. I think Matthew Stafford is still a winnable quarterback in the National Football League. He's more than a serviceable guy. He's a guy that can get your franchise in a different direction. So maybe getting a guy that can help the quarterback, help the offense, being able to get the most out of the offense. Of course, I think Eric Bieniemy would be a name that's on everybody's wish list that will be looking to acquire a new head coach. But that's deserving. I think he's going to have his pick of the litter when you look at opportunities. Maybe a guy like Pep Hamilton, the quarterback coach out there with the Chargers, who's done a real good job being able to get the most out of Justin Herbert, a guy that potentially will win Offensive Rookie of the Year at the end of the season. So quarterback-minded coaches, offensive-minded coaches, I think could be something that this organization could benefit from.
When you take a look at a possible candidate in Eric Bieniemy, I mean, that would absolutely excite the fan base, inject some energy back into what the Lions are trying to do. Because I remember coming into this season, and we knew about all the COVID-19 issues, but the Lions had a chance here to be somewhat good, a team that may surprise. They had good pieces in terms of the running back situation. I know they have Adrian Peterson. We know the situation there, but there was a chance that this team could have been a head turner. Instead, they're not. When you take a look at a possibility of having a guy like Eric Bieniemy coming in, I mean, it's somewhat, to me, it would be absolutely exciting if you're a Lions fan.
Yeah, because he has pieces to work with. Number one, he would have a quarterback, right, in Matthew Stafford. I think Matthew Stafford, like I said, he still wins some ball games. He still can put up numbers. Number two, he has a number one pass catcher in Kenny Galladay. Granted, he's been out of the lineup because of injury, but we know when he is healthy, he is the number one pass catching option in that offense. Third, you got a tight end, an athletic tight end in TJ Hockenson. I think he has a bright future ahead of him, especially if he stays healthy, along with a offensive line that's a middle of the pack type of group, but I think they can do a good enough job to be able to do some things running the football. You just drafted DeAndre Swift in this past draft, a second round selection. I think he has a bright future, very, very talented guy. You got Marvin Jones, so you got pieces there offensively, if you're Eric Bieniemy, that could be attractive enough to give you an opportunity to really hear what they're saying in the organization.
All right, there you have it. B-Mac with his analysis here on CBS Sports HQ as the Lions have fired both head coach